When a woman sees you have a mission, when your purpose comes before your pleasure, she feels something different. She sees a man who isn't distracted by every feeling, who doesn't crumble under every test. That man doesn't chase her approval. He earns her respect. He doesn't fear losing her because he already knows he can live without her. And that paradox is what makes her never want to leave. Understand this. Attraction built on need is temporary, but attraction built on peace lasts forever. When you no longer need someone to fill your emptiness, you invite them to share your fullness. You don't demand love, you inspire it. You don't ask for loyalty, you attract it. You don't fight for attention, you naturally receive it. Because your energy says, I am whole with or without you. The moment you stop chasing, life starts aligning. You'll notice something strange. The people who once ignored you start noticing you. The ones who took you for granted start questioning their choices because they sense a shift. You no longer come from lack. You come from abundance. That's the moment a man becomes dangerous. Not because he controls others, but because he controls himself. And yes, it takes time. There will be nights when you miss her, moments when you want to reach out, times when silence feels heavier than words. But that's the test. Solitude refines you. It burns away neediness, insecurity, and fear. It builds strength, patience, and inner peace. Every minute you spend mastering yourself is a step away from desperation and a step toward power. Marcus Aurelius once said, "You have power over your mind, not outside events." Realize this, and you'll find strength. That's the core of masculinity, self-mastery. When you no longer react to everything, you start to choose what deserves your energy. You stop fighting for attention and start fighting for purpose. When a woman realizes you no longer need her, something shifts, not just in her mind, but in her entire perception of you. The man she once saw chasing, explaining, proving, suddenly becomes calm, detached, centered. You're no longer reacting to her silence, her tests, her moods. You stop trying to convince her to stay, and that quiet confidence changes everything. Because when you stop needing someone, you take back your power. You're no longer the man who seeks validation. You're the man who creates it within himself. See, neediness is like energy. People can feel it without words. When you're desperate for attention or approval, it pushes others away. But when you're content with who you are, when your world doesn't fall apart in someone's absence, that's when real attraction begins. A woman might not always understand it consciously, but she senses it. Your calmness becomes magnetic. Your silence becomes louder than any chase, and your self-respect becomes irresistible. This is where everything changes. Because a man who doesn't need her isn't cold. He's centered. He values her presence but isn't defined by it. He gives love freely but doesn't beg for it in return. He's grounded, focused, moving with purpose. And when a woman sees that kind of strength, the strength that comes from peace, not pride, she either rises to meet it or fades away. That's the power of emotional independence. It transforms every relationship, not through control, but through clarity. You see, most relationships collapse not because love disappears, but because boundaries do. A man starts with purpose, confidence, and a life of his own. Then, slowly, he begins to orbit around her, making her the center of his world. And without realizing it, he loses the very energy that made her attracted to him in the first place. The moment you make someone your source of happiness, you hand them control over your peace. But when a man learns to be happy within himself, he becomes untouchable, not emotionally distant, but emotionally free. He can love deeply without losing himself. He can care without clinging. He can give without expecting. That kind of man becomes rare, and rarity is always respected, because women aren't drawn to need, they're drawn to direction. They follow men who have something greater guiding them than just emotion. And when you reach that place, women don't just see you, they feel you. Your presence carries weight. Your words carry calmness. Your silence carries respect. You don't need to prove anything anymore, because your peace speaks louder than any argument, and your confidence speaks louder than any chase. So if she sees you moving on, not out of spite, but out of peace, if she sees you growing, building, focusing, trust me, she notices. And even if she never says it, she feels it. The energy of man who doesn't need is unforgettable, because that man doesn't chase love. He attracts it. He doesn't demand loyalty. He commands it by example. He doesn't beg for attention. His presence earns it. And when a woman sees that, everything changes. So stop chasing. Start building. Stop begging for attention. Start mastering your focus, your body, your discipline, your mind. Let solitude teach you peace. Let purpose give you direction. Let silence make you powerful. Because when you finally stop needing anyone to complete you, that's when everyone starts noticing you.